At just 13 years old, the boy was woken up early by police knocking on his door. "Jamie Miller, it's 6:15 a.m. You're under arrest for attempted murder." No one could believe that a frail teenager like Jamie could be capable of murder, yet the officers were unyielding. Terrified, Jamie wet his pants, and they had to let his father help him change before taking him to the station for questioning. To Jamie's parents, it was unthinkable. How could a boy so scared he wet himself possibly be a murderer? They pleaded desperately, insisting their son was innocent, that there must be a mistake. But it was up to the police to find out. Even though Jamie was only a suspect, they dragged him out of the house as his parents wept and begged. In the car, he sat quietly, staring fearfully at them through the window. "I know this is hard, but try to stay calm." "Okay, calm down, kid." At the station, Jamie slowly calmed down. The first thing he said was a denial. "I didn't kill anyone. I'm not handling that part." "Jamie, just answer my questions, kid." Meanwhile, his parents were still in shock. They rushed to the station, but the police refused to share any details. All they said was, "Jamie has requested his father to act as his appropriate adult." What's an appropriate adult? The appropriate adult is a guardian authorized to be present during questioning and blood sampling of a minor suspect. Jamie's mother protested. She was the one who raised him, so why did he choose his father? The police offered no explanation. She muttered under her breath and reluctantly accepted. Before leaving, the lead investigator, Bascom, reminded, "If your son tells you anything about the case, or anything that led to it, you must report it to the police." The father had no idea what was happening. A few minutes later, he was finally allowed to see his son. "Do you believe I'm innocent, Dad?" "Of course I do." They then met with a lawyer, who confirmed the police were following protocol and asked for more details. "I heard they're taking a blood sample." "Yes. There are scratch marks on his hand, and blood was found at the scene." "Then that request seems reasonable." The victim had died on the spot, with multiple wounds showing extreme brutality. The main suspect was Jamie. He was ordered to remove his pants for examination, enraging his father. "Don't you think this is too much? Imagine being 13 and having two grown men stare at you." But his words carried no weight. He could only watch as his son was inspected. "All right, lift your genitals for examination. Any injuries there?" The father was overwhelmed, humiliated, furious, and powerless. Meanwhile, the lawyer advised Jamie, "No matter what they ask, just say you have nothing to say." "Got it, nothing to say, simple as that." The case was led by Detective Bascom, who discovered that Jamie was a top student. When asked about his friends, Jamie replied, "Nothing to say." Bascom then shifted to questions about love and sexuality. On social media, Jamie had shared posts of attractive models. He admitted he liked them but denied any sexual contact. They were far older than him anyway. From Jamie's social media, the police uncovered a new lead. The photos showed two boys, Tommy and Ryan, whom Jamie admitted were his friends. The three often hung out and attended the same school. "All right, were they with you last night?" "Nothing to say." Bascom pressed on, asking what time Jamie got home, but the boy kept repeating the same line, "Nothing to say." Seeing Jamie so evasive, Bascom presented evidence, a pair of sneakers belonging to Jamie. The boy insisted they weren't his. The female officer then showed Jamie a photo of a girl, Katie, the victim. She was his schoolmate, not from the same class but had shared a few lessons. The police tried to prompt him to discuss their relationship, but Jamie kept saying, "Nothing to say." "All right, then, friendship isn't that important. You won't talk about it, but can you tell me why?" Jamie finally explained that he only knew Katie casually. They talked at school but had no contact outside. There was nothing more than simple friendship. "Did you like her?" "No." The questions became sharper. The officers directly asked if Jamie had any sexual contact with Katie. His father interrupted, trying to protect him since he was still a minor, but it was standard procedure. Jamie firmly denied it, and when Bascom asked if he went to see Katie that night, he immediately said no, he didn't kill that girl. When Bascom presented the crime scene photos, saying the victim was stabbed 7 times, Jamie lowered his head, visibly disturbed. The lawyer immediately noticed something was off and requested a break, but Jamie's father, convinced of his son's innocence, insisted they continue. Bascom went on, showing surveillance footage. In the video, Jamie was wearing blue and white sneakers, meeting his 2 friends before walking alone for an hour, then following Katie. "Clearly, you were following her. Why did you do that?" When Jamie stayed silent, Bascom played the next clip, Jamie and Katie arguing, then Jamie chasing her and stabbing her multiple times. His father was frozen in disbelief as Jamie began to sob uncontrollably. As Jamie broke down, the interrogation was paused. The police and lawyer stepped out, leaving only father and son in the room. Jamie sobbed helplessly, saying, "Dad, it wasn't me. I didn't do anything." But his words changed nothing. Getting nowhere with Jamie, Bascom turned his attention to the boys' school. Meanwhile, Jamie's friends, Tommy and Ryan, were deeply shaken. Have they been to your house yet? Yeah. To ask about Jamie? Yeah. Coincidentally, Detective Bascom's own son, Adam, attended the same school. That morning, Adam texted his dad asking to skip class, but Bascom ignored him and told his strict wife to handle it. Adam had no choice but to go to school, while his parents assumed he was just being lazy. In reality, he knew his father was coming to investigate, which made him uneasy. In the cafeteria, a few students threw trash onto his tray, something he'd gotten used to. Moments later, another student blocked his path, demanding money. Adam, give me some cash? Come on, hand it over. Only when a teacher passed by did anyone step in to stop it. The rest of the students just looked away. Clearly, bullying was rampant in this school. Adam had endured it many times, yet his father had no idea. When Bascom arrived, he was warmly greeted by the teachers, and soon met Katie's best friend, Jade. Jade was clearly irritated by Bascom's questions. Everyone knew the police already had a video of Jamie committing the crime, so why ask about what kind of person Katie was, or what her relationship with Jamie might be? Were they trying to blame her death on herself? Bascom tried to calm her down, but Jade wouldn't listen. She even turned her frustration toward him. Adam, yeah, he's ugly as hell. You know that. He's tiny. The more she talked, the angrier she became. Can I go now? Mind your manners. I don't feel like being polite today. Can I go now, Mr. Elementary Teacher? With no other choice, Bascom let her leave. Afterwards, Bascom went to Jamie's classroom and spoke with his homeroom teacher. He introduced himself and told the students to call him if they knew anything. As he walked out, he told his partner, even though we've got solid evidence, without the knife, without the murder weapon, the case would get bogged down in court. They needed to find it, and fast. Still, one crucial element was missing, the motive. Everyone believed Jamie had killed Katie, but nobody knew why. Jade's reaction puzzled Bascom. I get the feeling Katie really hated Jamie, he said quietly. Next, Bascom visited a higher grade class, the same one Adam was in. Everyone knows Detective Bascom, also Adam's dad. Adam, eek eek. The teasing from the students made Bascom pause, but he pressed on. Before he could finish, the fire alarm went off, and all the students were evacuated. With the chaos around, Bascom turned to Jamie's teacher for help, but she was clueless. I really don't know. These kids are hard to deal with. What do you expect me to do? Outside, chaos erupted again. Jade was beating up Ryan. That freak killed my friend. You filthy criminal. The students around them laughed and filmed instead of stopping it. Getting beat up by a girl, loser. They shouted. Bascom later pulled Ryan aside to ask about Jamie, but the boy was clever, dodging every question. After a while, Bascom still got nothing. Then Adam approached his father. Dad, you're not gonna solve this. You don't understand any of it. He handed Bascom his phone, showing a string of social media posts. The students had been using emojis that looked harmless but actually carried hidden meanings, red pills, blue pills, even explosives. Adam explained, the blue pill meant seeing the world as it is, while the red pill meant seeing the truth behind it all. Bascom was confused. How did secret symbols tie into a murder? Adam went on, it's like a movement. The boys believe 80% of girls are attracted to only 20% of the guys. To stand out, you have to be different. They call themselves the singles. Katie had mocked Jamie by calling him one of them, and he'd been bullied ever since. But Jamie's only 13, Bascom muttered. How does that even make sense? Illogical or not, it was the truth. Check the comments under 15 of Jamie's posts. Adam added, different emojis, same message. That line made everything click for Bascom. The motive was finally clear. Katie had started mocking Jamie, labeling him one of the singles. She bullied him relentlessly. Still, Adam couldn't be sure. After all, Jamie and Katie weren't even in the same class. Jamie told his father that he only said those things because he didn't want him wandering around investigating for nothing. Bascom felt like a failure. From Adam's words and the students' reactions, he began to realize that his own son was in the same position as Jamie, labeled as one of the singles and bullied by his peers. Feeling guilty, Bascom asked if it was true. Adam tried to stay composed, but the hurt on his face said it all. Bascom said goodbye, heavy-hearted. Do you think these kids learn anything at school? It's like a damn cattle barn. Each classroom relied on video lessons, with teachers coming and going as they pleased. Bascom went to Ryan's class next, but as soon as the boy saw him, he bolted, leaping right out the window. That only confirmed Bascom's suspicions. The kid was hiding something. He chased Ryan down and caught him, pressing for answers until the boy finally confessed. It was my knife. I just wanted things to go back to normal. That confession was enough to arrest Ryan as Jamie's accomplice. The case finally seemed clear. Later, Bascom took a rare break, waiting outside the school to walk home with his son. I just want to walk with you, because I love you. For him, the only real outcome of this case was realizing how distant he'd become from his own child. Meanwhile, Jamie's father visited the crime scene, leaving flowers in memory of Katie. 7 months later, Dr. Bryony, a clinical psychologist, arrived at the police station. She was there to prepare a psychological report on Jamie, who had been detained for 7 months. Once a quiet boy, Jamie had recently started fighting with other inmates. When Bryony met Jamie, their conversation started casually, almost friendly, but Jamie soon dropped the act. "Why'd you bring cookies? I'm just curious. Feels like you're trying to trick me." "Trick you how?" Bryony seemed to be probing about his relationship with his father. Realizing that, Jamie ended it quickly. "My dad's good to me." He seemed to back down, but then made a bold request. He wanted to see the psychological report Bryony was writing. She smiled and declined. Though hired by his family, the report was for the judge, to help the court understand Jamie better. Jamie knew that report could influence the verdict, so he tried to act cooperative, though his resistance showed whenever the questions went deeper. Bryony stayed patient despite his resistance. Eventually, Jamie began to open up. He said his father was just a plumber, hardworking, tough, but emotionally distant, short-tempered, yet he never hit him. When Bryony probed further, Jamie said his dad loved sports, while he didn't, but was still forced to play soccer. As he spoke, Jamie's expression grew tense, his breathing uneven. "But when I didn't play well, he paused, struggling to continue. He'd avoid looking at me, like he didn't want me to see the disappointment in his eyes. That disappointment," Jamie said, "hurt him more than anything." Bryony quietly noted this down for her report. "Do you think you have any strengths?" "No, I don't really care." Jamie believed he wasn't good at anything, that he failed at everything he tried. What broke him most was learning that Ryan, his accomplice, had been released home awaiting trial, while he remained locked up in a place that felt like a mental ward. Overwhelmed, Jamie suddenly jumped to his feet. "Jamie, please sit down. If you don't sit, you don't know, or you just won't tell me." Jamie exploded, shouting, "Damn it, I don't want to sit. You tell me to sit and I have to." Jamie's violent outburst terrified Bryony, forcing the guards to step in. She left the room briefly, reviewing the footage to analyze his body language before returning. This time, Bryony calmly told him she wasn't a cop and wasn't there to interrogate him, she just wanted to understand him better. Bryony asked about Jamie's love life, how he viewed relationships. Jamie admitted he liked girls and longed for a girlfriend, though he looked down on his mother. He boasted that 2 girls had once sent him nude photos, but then laughed it off, admitting it was a lie. He had only seen explicit photos of 2 classmates. One of them was Katie, the girl who'd sent a photo to a boy who later spread it across the school. When Bryony asked if he liked Katie, Jamie denied it and insulted her appearance. Moments later, he lashed out, accusing Bryony of twisting his words. He stormed toward her, furious, but stopped when a guard stepped in. Shaken yet composed, Bryony chose to continue the session. She moved on to ask about the comments and emojis on Jamie's social media. He dodged the question, mocking her fear of him. Eventually, he confessed that the posts were all attacks, and that Katie had started it. When asked why she targeted him, he replied coldly, "Because I'm ugly." After the scandal, Jamie had tried to make amends by inviting Katie out, hoping they could be friends, but she laughed in his face. "I'm not that desperate." That single sentence shattered him, fueling the anger that would soon spiral out of control. By the end of their session, Bryony had enough to complete her report. Jamie's arrogance faded into insecurity. He tried to win her over, asking, "Do you like me?" When she didn't answer, he snapped again, forcing guards to remove him. Only after he left did Bryony's true fear show on her face. Jamie was a child raised in tragedy, the perfect reflection of a broken home and society. His short-tempered father, obsessed with success, passed down his anger and insecurity. Bullied at school and starved of affection at home, Jamie became hypersensitive and volatile, but that still wasn't the real reason he killed Katie. Deep down, Jamie craved affection, from Katie, from Bryony, from anyone who'd validate him. When denied, he turned to violence, using aggression as control. To him, women were fragile, inferior beings meant to obey. Every session left Bryony feeling as if she were standing on thin ice, her life in danger, but at least now, she knew exactly what to write in her final report. It was Jamie's father's birthday, a day that should have been peaceful, but chaos erupted when his daughter rushed in, panicking, saying their car had been vandalized. When he stepped outside, the vehicle was covered in obscene graffiti. Neighbors gathered, whispering and staring, and rage welled up inside him. He told his wife to call the police, but she sighed, saying it was pointless and that they should just move away. Furious, he snapped that they had done nothing wrong and shouldn't have to hide. Yet as he scrubbed the hateful words off the car under the neighbor's gaze, he could only swallow his anger. 2 teenage boys biked past, mocking him with laughter, driving him over the edge. Unable to stand it, he took his wife and daughter to buy paint to cover the graffiti. On the way, he tried to lighten the mood, promising they'd still go to dinner and a movie later. It was his birthday, after all. The tension eased a bit when Jamie's mother reminisced about their youth, recalling how he'd once worn a pink wig at a school dance and didn't care that everyone laughed. She even asked their daughter to play the song they danced to back when they were 13, the same age Jamie was now. The memory transported them back to that night, when young Jamie's father had boldly stepped onto the dance floor, dancing alone and making everyone laugh. That was how he first caught her attention. Unlike his son, he'd once known how to win hearts through confidence, not anger. But the warmth quickly faded when the store clerk recognized him. "Hey, I know you, I'm on your side," the boy said, rambling on that Jamie was innocent, that the stab wounds weren't fatal, and that Katie wasn't a saint anyway because of the leaked nude photos. Disgusted, Jamie's father cut him off and demanded the paint. He didn't understand all the slang the boy used, he just felt sick and angry. Leaving the store, he felt worse when he noticed the same two kids on bikes nearby, watching him again, maybe even following him. That feeling of being watched filled him with rage, the same way Katie must have felt when Jamie stalked her. He stormed toward one of the boys. "Was it you? Relax, it was just a joke, not funny." Got it. In anger, he poured the bucket of black paint over the car. His wife and daughter sat in silence, frightened, the car filled with a suffocating tension. Then the phone rang. It was Jamie. His trembling voice said, "Dad, I've decided to confess." The whole family froze. "I'm sorry, Dad. Happy birthday." The line went dead. That birthday wish cut deeper than any wound. He couldn't bring himself to smile but still tried to act normal, changing clothes as if to go to the movies with his family. His wife stopped him quietly, whispering, "Don't go to the cinema, please." Jamie's mother knew this wasn't the time to pretend everything was normal. She sat beside her husband, gently urging him to face reality. At first, Jamie's father refused to believe his son could kill, until he saw the footage. The truth was undeniable, yet how could any father accept that his own child had become a murderer? Unlike her husband, Jamie's mother saw things more clearly. She had raised him, known him better than anyone. A child doesn't turn cruel overnight. It started with silence. Jamie stopped talking to his family, locked himself in his room, and spent endless nights staring at a screen. The more she thought about it, the more guilt consumed her. If only they'd paid more attention, things might have been different. But Jamie's father felt powerless. He blamed the internet, all the dark, adult content online. His wife disagreed, accusing him of avoiding responsibility. "You mean to tell me you can't even guide your own son?" she said quietly. They both knew Jamie had inherited his father's temper, volatile, explosive. The father began to question himself. Was it their fault? He had never hit Jamie, having suffered abuse himself. He'd vowed never to do the same. But sometimes, not hitting isn't the same as not hurting. "I did my best, we both did," he said helplessly. He remembered the football lessons, the boxing classes, all the things Jamie hated. He remembered the mocking parents and his own silent shame. He'd never truly listened to his son, never supported his love for drawing. Work had taken everything, leaving no room to be the father Jamie needed. When Jamie stopped talking, stopped drawing, and spent his nights glued to the computer, they told themselves, at least he's safe in his room. That false comfort now haunted them. His mother embraced her husband, saying it wasn't their fault, but deep down, she knew Jamie chose his father as guardian because he was easy to fool, easy to win over. "If it were me, I would have handled it better." "No, you wouldn't." "Yes, I would." Their daughter interrupted the argument. Unlike her brother, she was resilient. When her parents asked if she was bullied at school, she admitted she had been, but said moving away wouldn't solve anything. "We can't keep running forever," she told them. Her words struck them deeply. No matter what Jamie had done, he was still family, and they, too, bore part of that burden. "How did we end up with such a good daughter?" he said, teary-eyed. "The same way we had Jamie," she whispered. At least they still had one child to hold on to. But inside Jamie's empty room, his father broke down in tears. It would take a long time, maybe forever, to accept the pain his son had brought upon their family. And that concludes our recap of the psychological crime drama Adolescence. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Me.